Welcome to English Podcast. Subscribe our channel for more update.
Okay, let's unpack this. The journey of learning English. It could be challenging, rewarding, sometimes kind of funny, right?
Definitely. And often very personal.
Exactly. So instead of just, listing grammar rules, what if we could actually hear from someone who's right in the middle of it?
That's precisely where we're going today. We're doing a deep dive into the experiences of David, a B1 level learner from Madrid.
B1, okay, so intermediate level.
Right. And we've got some clips, some excerpts from the English Journey Learning Through Life podcast, where he talks pretty openly about his challenges, but also the strategies that are actually working for him.
And the mission here is really to pull out those practical insights, isn't it? Things that anyone listening, wherever they are on their own learning path, can relate to or maybe even try themselves.
Absolutely. David's story is his own, of course, but it really shines a light on common hurdles and, importantly, effective ways to get over them. It reflects a lot of universal language learning truths.
Okay, so let's start with the why. What actually got David started on this English learning path? It's usually more than just one thing, isn't it?
Yeah, rarely just a single reason. For David, it seemed to come from a few different places. There was the practical side, needing English for his job. That's a big motivator for lots of people.
Sure, the career angle, very common.
But he also talked really enthusiastically about wanting to travel and, interestingly, just genuinely enjoying English music and movies.
Ah, the fun stuff. That can be a huge driver.
It really can. Don't underestimate it. And he even mentioned longer-term dreams, like potentially living abroad someday, maybe Canada or Australia.
Wow, okay. So quite a mix of motivations then. Practical needs, personal enjoyment, future goals.
Exactly. It shows how learning a language isn't just like a school subject. It gets woven into your life, your plans, your interests, much more than just an exercise.
And I'm guessing, like most learners, it wasn't exactly a smooth ride from day one. Those initial stages can be pretty tough.
Oh, for sure. He was very upfront about that, talking about, feeling like it was really difficult at first, that hesitation before you try to speak.
Yeah, the fear of getting it wrong.
Exactly that. Fear of mistakes, feeling embarrassed. It's a very common emotional territory for language learners.
Definitely relatable.
But what's really encouraging from listening to him is seeing that clear shift from feeling that initial anxiety to now feeling, well, more confident actually holding conversations.
That's great. It shows progress is possible, even with those early fears.
It really does. A good reminder that those first hurdles aren't permanent roadblocks.
Okay, so let's get into the how, the practical stuff.
Yeah.
What specific things did David find that actually helped him make that progress? This is the gold, right? The real world tactics.
Right. Well, one thing he really highlighted was listening to podcasts daily.
Daily listening. Okay.
And here's the interesting bit. He stressed doing it even when he didn't understand everything, not getting hung up on catching every single word.
Ah, so it's more about exposure, immersion.
Precisely. It's like tuning your ear, letting your brain soak up the sounds, the rhythm, the patterns of English, even subconsciously. It builds that foundation before you even get to full comprehension sometimes, like language osmosis.
Language osmosis. I like that. Just letting it wash over you.
Yeah.
What else worked for him?
He also found a lot of value in actively speaking with language partners online. Actually using the language.
Putting it into practice. That makes sense. Less theoretical.
Exactly. It gives you that essential chance to try things out, experiment in ideally a low pressure situation. And alongside that active practice, he was also doing things like reading books and watching TV shows with subtitles.
So using media for vocabulary building.
Yeah, picking up words and phrases in context, which often helps them stick better than just memorizing lists.
Okay, vocabulary. That's often a huge sticking point, isn't it? Remembering all the new words. Did David have a specific trick for that?
He did, and it's very practical. His method was basically learn a new word, try to use it in a sentence that means something to you, and then physically write it down in a notebook.
Making it active, not passive.
Right. He gave an example like, learning English is a big challenge, but it's fun. By using the word challenge in a relevant sentence and writing it, you're creating more connections in your brain. It makes the word yours, not just a definition on a page.
That's a great tip. It sounds like he wasn't just relying on dedicated study time either. He was weaving it into his day.
Totally. He described a typical day like listening to podcasts while having breakfast,
Okay, multitasking.
then maybe catching up on some English news during his lunch break, and then in the evening, perhaps some more focused study or watching a series, again with English subtitles.
So lots of little touch points throughout the day.
Exactly. That consistent integrated approach often feels more manageable and probably more sustainable than trying to block out huge chunks of time just for studying.
Yeah, fitting it into the gaps you already have. And the kind of stuff he was watching and listening to wasn't all textbooks, right?
Not at all. He specifically mentioned enjoying dramas and comedies, and he singled out the show Friends as being really helpful.
Ah, Friends.
Yeah.
A classic choice for learners.
Yeah, and what's key is how he used it. He talked about picking up casual phrases, everyday English, the kind of conversational bits you often miss in formal lessons.
Right, the slang, the idioms, how people actually talk.
Exactly. It just highlights how powerful it can be to learn through something you genuinely enjoy. It doesn't feel like work then.
Totally. Did he share any examples of those phrases he picked up?
He did. Things like, "What's up? Take it easy. No worries, and hang out."
Yeah, stuff you hear all the time but might not find a grammar book.
Precisely. Those little phrases are like the glue of natural conversation. They help you understand informal chats and sound more natural yourself. Gets you closer to the culture, too.
Definitely. Now, another big hurdle, speaking. Lots of learners struggle with that. David mentioned feeling nervous and issues with pronunciation.
Yes, he acknowledged that was tough for him. But he didn't just sort of accept it. He tried different things.
Okay, what were his strategies there?
Well, he did a few things. One was recording himself reading something aloud.
Oh, interesting. To hear himself back.
Exactly. To actually hear his own pronunciation, identify areas to work on. It can be really eye-opening or maybe ear-opening.
Ear opening, yeah. Good one.
And then he made a point of practicing speaking with friends online, using things like Zoom or Skype, creating that space to just talk, build confidence.
Makes sense. A safer space than talking to strangers, maybe?
Potentially, yeah. And the third thing was shadowing.
Shadowing. Explain that.
It's where you listen to a native speaker, maybe in a podcast or a YouTube video, and you try to repeat what they say almost simultaneously, mimicking their rhythm, intonation, pronunciation.
Like being their echo.
Kind of, yeah. It's a really effective way to train your mouth and ear to the sounds and flow of the language.
So a mix of self-analysis, practice, and mimicry. Pretty comprehensive approach.
It really seems like he tackled it from different angles, figuring out what worked for him.
And he has clear goals in mind now, right?
Yeah.
Where does he want to take his English next?
He does. He mentioned wanting to take the B2 level exam, so moving up a level formally.
Okay, a concrete target.
And also tying back to his motivations, traveling to English-speaking countries like the UK or the US. His goal there isn't fluency necessarily, but feeling confident enough to handle everyday situations.
Like ordering coffee, asking for directions.
Exactly, those practical interactions. Having a casual chat without feeling totally lost. It gives all the study a real purpose, you know?
Yeah, a tangible reason to keep going.
Yeah.
So if we boil it all down, what's the main advice David would give someone else at that B1 level, maybe feeling a bit stuck?
He offered 3 really key things, I think. First, and maybe most important, don't be afraid to make mistakes. He really stressed that they're just part of learning. Essential, even.
Embrace the errors. Got it.
Second, find ways to enjoy it. Engage with stuff you actually find interesting. Movies, music, podcasts, whatever. Make it fun.
Keep the motivation high.
Right. And third, consistency. Practice every day, even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes. That regular contact makes a huge difference over time.
Little and often.
Yeah. His closing thought was basically, English should be fun. And that positive mindset seems to have really fueled his progress.
That's brilliant. So the big takeaways seem to be consistent, don't fear mistakes, See them as learning fuel and find the fun in it. Seems like solid advice for learning pretty much anything, actually.
Absolutely. David's story is a great case study in how integrating learning into your life in enjoyable, consistent ways really does lead to progress and builds that confidence brick by brick.
It really does. So, thinking about this deep dive into David's journey,
Hmm.
it leaves us with a final thought for you listening. What's one small, maybe even enjoyable step you could take today to deepen your own learning dive, whatever it is you're trying to master?
Yeah, maybe it's like David finding 10 minutes for a podcast or trying out one of those casual phrases you learn.
Or just tackling something you've been putting off because it felt too hard. Just a little nudge to keep moving forward, keep exploring, and like David says, try to make it fun along the way.